Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of Look Forward. I'm your host, Jay. I'm here with my co-host, Brad.
Let's fuck shit up.
Yeah. Like, I'm just going to leave that part in where I sighed before saying hello. Yeah, we're back. There are things to talk about. There's one big thing to talk about. So let's just get started. Look, before we settle into this, I think I have not talked to Brad about this ahead of time, but I think this probably needs to be said. And I say this, and I say this not wanting to be pleased about it. Dude, we told you. We fucking told you. Look, it's going to be a cold winter, man. Buckle up, because they aren't going to stop here. It is going to get worse before it gets better. There are a lot of solutions that are being pushed by people, both online and politicians. Spoiler alert: some of that shit ain't gonna do anything. It's just to make you feel better. It's just to make you feel better. But we're gonna tell you the truth, because we're gonna tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. Okay, so just as a starting position for this episode. So let's get right into it. Look, there was a leaked SCOTUS opinion. Turns out it's from Sam Alito on how they're going to rule as far as Roe v. Wade goes. Shocking news. The 5-4 court, or 6-3 court, is likely to go 5-4.
I will say
overturn Roe v. Wade.
My favorite part about this entire story is that there's a lot of hand-wringing from serious legal people in the SCOTUS universe who are just like, now, one thing we don't know about this yet is how Chief Justice Roberts is going to rule. And how he rules could be incredibly impactful, to which I say it's either going to be 6-3 or 5-4. Regardless,
right?
I'm pretty sure the regressives have it.
Yeah, like,
so it really doesn't fucking matter.
Is Kavanaugh suddenly Roberts switching over to 5-4 the other way? What are you talking about?
Because he's the only one you'd get out of the rest of them.
Yeah, you're
possibly
not, it's irrelevant. It's irrelevant.
And that dude was created in a Federalist Society tank, like not a think tank, like a literal tank.
Yes,
where he was created out of some sort of like conservative embryo that he was grown.
All of these guys were basically created like Serpentor, right? Like all of the world's history's worst people, Hitler, and I don't know, like for the right to be like Ruth Bader Ginsburg, or like whoever the worst people are for them. Yeah, they were absolutely just built in a lab, right, for this sole purpose. But look, we'll talk about the opinion, we'll talk about the hot takes and everything else. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if it's 5-4 or 6-3. Women are affected by this. Families are affected by this. Poor people are affected by this. And it doesn't, like, that's legal hand-wringing. That's for conversations in academia. Like, that's not conversations in reality, right? Like, well, then Roberts did this, and then he didn't do this. Yeah, that's just to appear more reasonable. He has no control over that court. He has no control over the nutbags.
To make it appear as if this is, just business as usual, as if the SCOTUS hasn't been a deeply, deeply partisan institution since, I don't know, about December of 2000, when when they decided to take up a pretty important case. Yeah, that
turns out,
destroyed
the timeline, and now we're on the shitty one when the goat walked into the Hadron Collider and fucked everything up. So yeah, I'm angry. I'm angry at a lot of people. But I like to focus my anger properly and not focus on things in sort of like weird, it's Obama's fault because he didn't codify the law directions, or it's Joe Biden and the Democrats' fault because they haven't codified this into law yet. Or, Well, they should at least try, even though people didn't realize like a bill had been passed in the House. Like it has been waiting to get through the Senate. So I'm not gonna throw my ire towards those things. I think those are silly and wasteful. I am also not going to be a person who says that we shouldn't look back. We should only look forward. No. I've said that in the past. Not today. No, not today. We're going to look back and we're going to figure out what the root cause of these issues are. Because there are some, and they are very obvious ones. And until you address those issues, you cannot fix this. So look, if you're part of that group and you're going to be sad, you're going to be fucking sad. Because I got some fucking words.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, people are like, oh, you should be angry at the Republicans, and you should be.
And I am.
But I've got enough anger to go around. Like I've got enough anger for everybody. I don't feel like I need to just, have a little bit of anger to go this one direction. And the thing is, like, the point is made, like, hey, they've been trying to do this for the last 50 years. And that is the point. They've been trying to do this for the last 50 years. You know who they are.
Right.
As to quote former Cardinals coach Dennis Green, they are who we thought they were.
Yeah.
We knew this was coming. And yet there's a lot of people that didn't not only do nothing, but they couldn't even do the bare minimum that might have prevented us from reaching this moment here and now.
Voting is easy.
It's the easiest.
It's the easiest thing. No, I know people say, well, some people like, black folks in Georgia, they got to stand in line for 6 hours. Look, granted, 100% understand that. I live in a blue state. I don't have to deal with that. It takes me 10 minutes to vote. Not talking about that. But I'm talking about the actual, physical act of voting. And I'm talking, yes, everyone, has different wait times or whatever. Like, don't be so fucking pedantic. Don't be a Neil deGrasse Tyson, right? Don't be a professional pedant. But when it comes to actually voting, once you get to the box, that is the easy part. It requires no phone banking. That doesn't require knocking on doors. It doesn't require doing speeches. It doesn't require doing anything. It just requires you to go there, tick shit off, and be done. That's it. And people can't even do the bare minimum.
No. Or if they do, they have to get cute with it. If they do, we have to do, I'm going to protest vote because I need to voice my displeasure with the two candidates that are on offer. And the only way to do that is to be as selfish as fucking possible. That's the kind of other shit that you get when we go into this. Or
the other parties have flaws. And since this other party has never been in power, they don't have flaws. So it makes me feel like they're perfect and keeps me perfect. That's horseshit.
I live in a fantasy land where I think America is somehow not a two-party government.
Yes, and
I'd like to vote for this. I'd like to vote for this fifth party on the ballot.
Yes, as if it will make any difference besides giving the shittier party opportunity to catch up and to do what they're planning on doing. So, look, where you want to start? You want to start with some of the words from Alito's.
Well, that's the best place to start, so we can get good and mad to lead things off. It does figure that for such a monumentally shitty, opinion, they handed it to the most monumentally shitty Supreme Court justice that we've probably seen in our entire lifetime. As many legal scholars have said, he is probably the most embittered white man in the history of the Supreme Court, possibly in all of politics today.
Wow, that is a heavy charge. Considering that is a heavy charge. Look, I'm no Sam Alito fan. Contrary to popular belief, it turns out a lot of people don't know that. Look, here's a quote from the initial draft. We hold that Roe and Casey must be overruled. By the way, Casey is birth control.
1992 decision that helped reaffirm Roe.
Right. But that's on birth control. So if you think that the Republican Party is going to stop with Roe, you guys ready to not have condom access?
Oh, Jay, I don't know if you heard though.
That's insane.
Went out of his way. I don't know if you heard Sam Alito went out of his way to specify that this decision was specifically about abortion and couldn't be applied to anything else that they possibly might want to do this down the road.
Yeah, these guys are definitely known to not lie. I don't know if people are aware of that. Is Susan Collins on the line? Perhaps she'd like to talk about that.
She's very concerned.
She's at what did I see? She's at concern threat level midnight. like, dude, she fucking sucks. Okay, she fucking sucks. Lisa Murkowski sucks less, but she still sucks too. But Susan Collins sucks the most. The Constitution makes no reference to abortion, and no such right is implicitly protected by any constitutional provision, including the one on which the defenders of Roe and Casey now chiefly rely. The Due Process Clause of the 14th Amendment, that provision has been held to guarantee some rights that are not mentioned in the Constitution, but any such right must be, quote, deeply rooted in the nation's history and tradition, and implicit in the concept of ordered liberty.
Huh. So what he's saying is that if it wasn't explicitly called out in the Constitution, we shouldn't be using it. That's weird, because there's a lot of things that aren't explicitly called out in the Constitution. Things like the filibuster. Things like having only 9 justices on the Supreme Court.
Correct. That is also correct.
Things like judicial review.
Yeah, it's
weird how that works.
Any of these unenumerated rights that we have that the Republicans don't like, that shit's up for grabs, dude. It's up for grabs. And we'll talk about that, but that's all up for grabs now. All right, let me get my ire up a little bit here. What the fuck did we tell you? You cannot hand the reins of power over to maniacs and expect them to behave. That is not what they do. They are not designed to do that because they are, by definition, fucking maniacs, okay? Religious zealots and maniacs. I just said the same thing twice. Look, it's... which...
I'm only laughing because Micah made it. We recorded Dead Pixels earlier today. Micah made it a point to call out the fact that we shouldn't religion all the time. And I even said, we even go out of our way to do it. And it took us all of 10 minutes.
Dude, this is not our fault. This is not our fault. Come on, man. This is what it's based on. This is what it's based on.
Yeah.
No, look, my family's religious. My mom's religious. I got no problem with religion. I have a problem with religious zealots. That's what I have a problem with. Like, that's fucking crazy. So here's my thing. We have now hit this point where you have Joe Biden and the Democrats are saying, like, we need to codify this into law, right? We need to codify Roe v. Wade into law. That's the only way to protect Roe. That's just to make you feel good. It's to make you feel good. Yep. There is nothing about this Supreme Court draft opinion that tells me that it being settled law signed by a president means anything. Yeah. It means nothing.
There's a lot of feel-good stuff happening right now. Gavin Newsom said that they're going to propose a constitutional amendment to enshrine abortion in the Constitution, and that sounds great, and I'm sure that Californians will absolutely vote on presenting that amendment to a constitutional Congress. Here's the thing. If you haven't taken a civics lesson in a little while, you need 3/4 of the states to ratify that in order to make it in the Constitution. I don't think red states are going to be on board.
Nope. There isn't a solution. There isn't one. That's the hard shit. All of this, it's Joe Biden's fault. It's fucking ultra-left liberals from 2016. It's the fucking centrists from 2016. It's fucking Obama's fault. It's Republicans' fault. All of that. At the end of the day, and we'll get to all that, at the end of the day, none of that matters because you can't fix this now. You don't have the power to fix it. You don't. You simply don't.
As they say, the toothpaste is out of the tube. You can't put it back in again.
Let me rephrase that. There's one solution. You can expand the court. You can put 2 justices on it. You can relitigate all of this shit. Right. Like, but that's what I'm saying. This is a pie in the sky bullshit idea. You could put 2 justices on it, liberal justices. Get another case going. Get Roberts to like take on the case, right?
Mm-hmm. Which they don't have to.
They don't fucking have to. I don't know how that works, by the way. Does he, like, do they all come together and be like, yeah, we want to take this? Is it like a majority vote? Or does he just unilaterally make that choice?
No, they usually vote on it, typically. If there's a question, they vote on it. And there has to be, I can't remember how many votes they need. It's not, they don't need a majority opinion to hear the case. But, like, if enough people say no, then they don't do it. So
right. So already you've got 6.
Yeah.
It would already be 6-5. So again, doesn't have to be a majority, but you would have to get all 5 of these 3 justices that you have and the 2 justices to all agree to rerun it and then overturn it. You think you can get it done before 2025? I don't think so. Right?
It'd literally be impossible because you first have to like even if we fucking did this shit tomorrow, like even if we like, all right, we're adding seats to the Supreme Court, still have to have hearings, you still have to have votes. That takes time. Lead us into the midterms. You'd have to then the decision. First of all, also important to ask, the decision hasn't even been announced, so technically, Roe's still on the books. Like until it's officially announced by the Supreme Court, still in the books.
And they're talking midsummer is when this is likely to come out. So
we have to get there first.
Right.
You'd have to have someone contest the law. It has to work its way through the state process.
That's right.
And then get in front of the Supreme Court, then get heard, which doesn't, just because it doesn't not like it gets rocketed up to the Supreme Court. Like they can take as much time as they need to hear.
And there are also other cases. you can't go, correct, this is really important. Like that's not how that works.
And in the meantime, they're not going to put out a stay on banning abortion. Like they'll be like, the existing law will remain in place until we get to hear it. So then for several years, you have people in these states that A, already have abortion laws on the books, or B, have trigger laws that are already on the books that as soon as Roe gets overturned, go into effect immediately, where people can't get reproductive services or you can't get abortion services. And it's annoying that Tiara is not here. I feel like a woman's perspective is very handy in this issue. I don't know that you guys need 2 men, mansplaining this shit to you.
Let me tell you about your uteruses, ladies.
Let me tell you about something. Here's the thing, though. People that are anti-abortion look at abortion in a very myopic sense. Like they look at it as like, oh, you have a baby. You were probably reckless and irresponsible. So, and you want to get rid of the baby because you don't want to take care of it. Like that's kind of the myopic view that they take of it. And there's, several instances that get brought up all the time that Republicans seem to not give a shit about, rape, incest being one of them, because there's no protection for that in this ruling that they're carving out here. In fact, some Republicans are saying, oh, this will empower people who were raped. What the fuck are you talking about? Like, I can't believe that's something you're saying in a taped interview, but okay. That seems really stupid. Here's the thing. These kind of procedures affect everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So my wife and I, when we were trying to get pregnant for the first time, had a miscarriage. We had a stillborn at I think 9 or 10 weeks, and she had to get a DNC to remove.
Same with my wife.
The baby. Yeah.
Same with my wife.
Guess what that procedure is? That's the procedure that they outlaw. Yeah. And even people who just miscarry naturally, who are trying to have kids, who have a miscarriage, in these states would be forced to carry that stillborn fetus to whatever turn, like until it ejects itself forcibly, which is painful, traumatic.
It's miserable.
It's a terrible fucking thing. Yep. And in these states, these people won't be able to get that service because of this myopic view of what abortion is.
There it is, Brad. Thank you. There's my anger. You brought it right there.
Yeah.
I cannot fucking tell you how fucking mad that makes me. Like, I quite literally, and you had to do the same thing, had to sit next to your wife having to go through that. Mm-hmm. It's fucking awful. It's an awful fucking situation. Nobody makes these decisions lightly. No one does. This fucking bullshit TV version of like, hot chick smoking a cigarette on the corner. I guess I'll just get an abortion today. Like, that's not how the world works. You dumb fuck rednecks. It's not how it works. It's not how it works. And, shout out to rednecks. Some of them are reasonable. This is more like this is more of the like puritanical zealots.
It's just Trey Crowder. He's the only one.
Yeah, he's the only one. He's not like that guy. That guy's all right. But having to sit next to women having to deal with that. That's not a fiction. That's not a story to make up. That's real. Like, people deal with that, right? Let alone, God forbid, women who are raped or incest and shit like that. God forbid those situations, right? Or you're a family and you mistakenly get pregnant. Shit happens, right? And you can't afford it, right? And you're just like, dude, we can't afford to have another kid. We're already on fucking, we're hanging on, like barely taking care of the family we have, right? Or how about it doesn't really fucking matter what the other reasons are. It's their body. Leave them the fuck alone. This is not a decision people come to lightly. It is something that they have to do. They feel they have to do. It is what it is. Look, I wish in there was a fantasy land where every situation, every time a egg is fertilized, it is for the most beautiful, perfect fucking situation. And they sit down and they check their bank account and they're like, well, we have the money, Junior. Let's fucking do it. And, okay, now you lay down, Martha, and we're going to make this thing happen. But it's not Leave It to fucking Beaver, you assholes. It's reality. Reality is messy, it's hard, it's difficult, and it's not perfect. It's not a straight line. This is my issue with this type of fucking thought process from the right, is they look at everything so black and white. Mm-hmm. That's why they can't understand, like, if you look at fundamentally their views on almost anything, they can never understand the nuance of any fucking topic. They can't. Second Amendment says it in the Constitution, bro. That's it. Yeah, people are bringing them to school and just any gun I want. I should be able to have a bazooka. Yeah. Fuck it. Right? The most black and white fucking point of view. They're bringing them into schools and fucking murdering kids. 20 kindergartners got murdered. Yeah, that's really sad. But my guns, though. Okay, but can you, register your shit? No, I don't want to register it. Well, it doesn't say that in the fucking Constitution. Doesn't it explicitly say you don't have to register it? We ready to deal with that? Fuck you, dude. Fuck you. It's ridiculous. So now we go after women's rights, right? We go after women's right to their own bodies. Oh, the party of small government. What a crock of shit, so small they can fit inside of a woman's uterus. It is a crock of shit argument from them. They're a bunch of hypocrites. And guess what? All of these motherfuckers are all backing a guy who 100% has definitely paid for multiple abortions in the 80s.
Yeah,
are you kidding me? Who believes that guy has it? Who possibly
how many fucking Republican congressmen, pro-lifers, have been caught paying for their mistress's abortion or
of course.
Happens all the fucking time.
You think Trump has never paid for an abortion? Well, knowing him, he probably didn't even pay. Knowing him, he didn't even pay for it. But you think he hasn't been with some woman who's knocked up? You cannot possibly believe that. Asshole? No way.
And again, this kind of goes back to the point that we made, talking about marijuana a couple weeks ago or last week, whenever it was. This isn't a law that affects everybody equally. No. Rich white people, no problem getting an abortion. You got a pregnancy that you can't take care of. You got the money to get it done. You got the money to get on a plane. You can fucking fly anywhere you want to. That where it's legal. You can fly to the fucking country if you want to. If it somehow it's a nationwide ban, I'll go to fucking Canada. No big
Canada
deal.
came out today. Canada came out today and said, hey, if women can't get abortions in the United States, they can come to Canada and get it done.
Yeah. No big deal. Those people aren't fucking worried. Just like marijuana ain't been illegal if you're white for the longest time. Abortion ain't gonna be illegal if you're white too. It's just gonna be low income,
rich and white,
or rich. It's gonna be low income people. It's gonna be people of color. It's gonna be people that don't have the means to be able to drive, 5 states away, 1,500 miles, just to fucking get this. It's gonna be people that might not have the means to realize in time that they're able to do this, and they might be too far along, things of that nature. Might be people that don't have the means to be able to identify possibly fatal birth defects that might be in kids, that it's the merciful thing to do to abort the fetus when the child that's born is going to have a super short but miserable life of suffering? Like, is that a fucking life
I know a couple who had to go through that.
Right. Is that a life that you want a living being to have? All they know is suffering and that's it? And then they're fucking gone? Like, is that humane? Is that the just thing to do? Just so that you can make sure that we're, populating America with as many fucking young people as we possibly can because we're fucking worried about, birth rates plummeting or shit like that.
Right.
It's
and the second they are born, you don't give a shit about them anyway.
Yeah.
You don't give a shit about them. You don't care about, as far as like maternity leave, you don't give a fuck about, parental assistance, healthcare, the most basic shit. Yeah. You don't even give a fuck about.
Food
you don't
stamps.
care about them.
School lunches.
Right. We're on that shit. Like we're making people pay for that. Like you don't even support those things. You're not pro-life. You're not. You're not. Yeah. No, you know you are. You're anti-woman. You're not pro-life. You're just anti-woman.
That's probably true. Yeah. It's probably the more.
That's all it is at the end of the day. Spoiler alert. Everything, like, you can trace so much of their bigotry through other groups to their hatred for women. There's a pretty profound theory. I think it's pretty fucking accurate that homophobia comes from a hatred of women, right? Like, it does, right? At least homophobia towards men, right? Like gay men. It comes from a hatred of women, right? This idea of like, you don't like to see those traits in men because you don't like to see those traits, period.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And it's just, it's not surprising because, quiet as it's kept, the Republican Party is a party of fucking religious, dark age, dumb fucks. At the end of the day, they don't want shit to change because it's scary.
Jay,
that's it. It
Jay.
is. It's scary.
Jay, quiet as it's kept.
I just like to say
blatantly obvious.
Yeah, I just like to say that. It's for effect. It's just for effect. A lot of people don't know this. It turns out it's a secret. But they are dark age. They like if this was back in the day, they would be like, we need to make sure science doesn't exist, although they kind of already say that now, right?
I'm about to say, how's that different?
Yeah. It's a little different. They don't wear wizard hats anymore or whatever. Things have changed. But like they are so terrified of the future. They're terrified of it. So they will hold us back as a nation, as a people, to just keep things just holding on to this desperation, this absolute desperation for shit to not change.
And it's funny because I feel like the easier option, because as we've said many times on the show before, civilization progresses. Like it's unceasing progress. It's just the way it goes.
That's the way it goes.
Seems like it'd be really easy just to kind of roll with it and progress with us. I don't understand the need to kind of like plant a stake in the ground and be like, this is where we're stopping right here. This is the line in the fucking sand. We're not going one step past this fucking baby. Line.
That's right.
This was it. I don't get that. I just don't fucking get it. A lot of it's because, again, this is driven by mostly white, mostly male, mostly heterosexual people who I think are afraid of losing power in society. White people are a dwindling plurality of the American public. Men are a minority of the American public at this point. I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure there's more women out there than there are men. Heterosexuals are still a robust majority of the public, but obviously the numbers get smaller every year as gender identities and sexual orientations become more prevalent and become more accepted in society.
Right.
And so people are just afraid of losing what they've, I would say worked so hard to gain, but let's be honest, they were just
what they were given
with it. Yeah.
What they were
bequeathed. Yeah, that too.
Yeah, what they took.
And that's really where it originates from. And again, this is, I mean, for them, this is like the ultimate, like getting to tell a woman like, oh, you must have this parasite live within you for 10 months and you cannot expel it until it is ready to be born into this world. Like that's the ultimate fucking form of control.
Yeah. I just don't, I just wish I had a true understanding of what it was like to have a brain that didn't make sense. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I wish I could, like, and I say that, like, partially joking, but, like, it would be fascinating to be inside the brain of a person whose logic is so, like, it lacks all nuance. Like, all nuance. I remember I was once friends, in quotes, with a guy, like, I met on Twitter who was conservative. And, like, we would, like, go back and forth. And I just remember, but we were friendly about it, right? And like, oh, I had this point, and he had a point or whatever. And I'm like, that's fucking weird, man. Like, okay. And then I remember we got on the abortion topic once, and I was just like, you're a fucking asshole. And I was like, I'm done. Like, all the other stuff we could kind of like, could just agree to disagree, right? Like, not about like human things like black people are worth 3/5. And I'm like, agree to disagree. Like, not shit like that. But, you know, it's like, like, that would be ridiculous. I'd be like, just send me your address.
I'm gonna say, I'd be pretty surprised if you were arguing in good faith with someone who's still like, the 3/5 clause, pretty good piece of legislation.
It wasn't that bad. Like, no, it wasn't like that for people listening. Like, that's
really
crazy.
Really helps the country together right from birth. I gotta tell you.
Yeah, really worked quite well for us. Like, okay, good for you. No, but it was mostly like, you know, like financial things and, you know, sort of things. And I'm like, okay, dude, you know, trickle down economics isn't real. Okay. Like, okay, buddy. And then we got on the abortion conversation, and I was just like, oh, you are fucking crazy. Like, got it. And it's not like, I don't care. Like, and we're not, just so we're clear, I'm not talking about people who are pro-life, right? There are people who are just pro-life, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong. Like, you can be pro-life for yourself. Let me rephrase that. Being pro-life for yourself. There's nothing wrong with that. If you do not want to have an abortion, you don't have to. That's actually totally fine and well within the realm of what a pro-choice perspective is. Not to pro-life for yourself.
Not to derail your point, though. If you are not wanting to have abortions yourself, but you understand that it's not for you to say if other people can have abortions.
Exactly.
That is inherently a pro-choice position. You are making a choice.
I know. Yeah. I know. Because I have said that for years. And there's also another aspect that pro-lifers do that pisses me off, because I'm like, it's also a fucking pro-choice to go, well, I'm pro-life with the exception of, boom, that is a pro-choice fucking perspective. Because any exception is a pro-choice perspective. If you're saying, well, they should be able to have it if it's rape and incest, I'm okay with that. Well, then you're fucking pro-choice, asshole. Your line is just a little bit to the right of my line. That's all it is. That's all it is. You are going crazy.
It's been doing that a couple times today. It's good.
Weird. Brad's computer gets really mad when we point out
it's furious too.
Yeah, I get it. But yeah, no, those are inherently pro-choice perspective. So he had like hardcore pro-life, like it should be fucking banned altogether. And I was just like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like, I get, like, if you don't want it, then don't do it. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. Yeah. Look, Tim Kaine, you know, obviously was, VP candidate. He's pro-choice, or excuse me, pro-life for himself.
Joe Biden.
Yeah, Joe Biden is, right.
Is a Catholic. They don't
they're not, don't know if you know.
They're not huge fans of abortion, I gotta tell you. And again, like I it just struck me, and I'd seen people say this before, but in the wake of all this today, it just kind of struck me. The same people who are the hardliners on this issue, the same people who hardline this should be outlawed completely, women should have to carry pregnancies to term, yada 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 yada, are the same folks, the same exact folks who whined and cried and stamped their feet on the ground and talked about their freedoms and talked about their choice to regulate their body when we asked them to wear a fucking piece of cloth over their face to keep themselves and the people around them safe from the deadly pandemic that's raging throughout a society.
It's still raging.
I don't think, like if you're a man, and again, we're talking in this from the male perspective, I don't think that there's anything that we have in the typical male experience that is comparable to having to literally carry another person inside of your body for 10 months. The strain, the fucking difficulty, like everything about it. Like if you've been with a woman who's been pregnant and went through a pregnancy, you get to see all the ebbs and flows and all the ups and downs and all like the crazy hormone imbalances and the crazy cravings and their feet hurting and their back hurting and this and the baby kicking them throughout the night. So, you stay fucking awake and this or the other. Then going through birth, which, no spring picnic in and of itself. Like, again, if you know some women in your life, I'd imagine most of you do, ask them the horror stories of going through labor and things of that nature. Or they just cut you open and take the baby
rip it out.
A fucking major surgery. Men don't have to do anything like that. Nothing.
No.
Like there's nothing that we do that's even remotely comparable. And yet somehow the majority of the vast majority of people who make these decisions, all men. Again, like the meme was going around last night of Laura Ingraham had a panel on her show to discuss the abortion issue, and it was 4 fucking white men. Like, get the fuck out of here. Are you kidding me? You couldn't find one woman? Didn't have like an intern or a staff member that you could have just pulled on as a panelist?
I mean, hey. I mean, what are these chicks know? What are these broads know? No, I mean, because in their eyes, even through Laura Ingraham's eyes, women are supposed to be broodmares. That's it. They're just supposed to be fucking broodmares. They hate the idea of women of the modern age, like going out, having fun, doing their thing, being pro-sex, being, liberal and do their thing and go on with their lives. They hate it. They want abortion. These abortion arguments are about punishing women for sex. That is a big part of it. It is about, oh, you want to go out there and get your jollies on? Oh, well, you got knocked up. You're going to fucking keep that baby. Because in their mind, those are the only type of abortions, right? Some loose woman getting out there, banging out a bunch of dudes and then getting knocked up and being like, ugh, I don't want to keep this child. And again, smoking her cigarette and getting an abortion. Maybe that happens. I don't know what the percentage is, but I would argue it's a pretty silly fucking Saturday morning cartoon stereotype. It's ridiculous.
It is. But guess what? Even if that does happen,
still
it's their fucking right. It's their body. What the fuck? Like it's like you shouldn't have to pay a fucking penalty of carrying a child if you don't want to. Just because you made a mistake.
Right.
Just because you're careless. The reasons are inconsequential.
Yeah. But what about I don't care. But what about what?
Bodily autonomy is absolute. Period. End of discussion. Like that's what it boils down to.
Right. And look, I'm sure the right would make the argument of like that's how they felt about masks. My thing is when you go into a business, it says no shoes, no shirt, no service. Like, still gotta wear a shirt. Like, you gotta wear a shirt, dude. Like, we're just asking you to put a mask on temporarily. By the way, I don't drive around alone with a mask on like some sort of psychopath. Like I see some people, I'm like, what are you doing? Just take your mask off. Or if I'm outside, I don't wear a mask. Right? You don't have to wear. They're like, people are like, you have to wear a mask all the time. Are you wearing it in your house? Are you wearing it when you're sleeping? What? How long are you wearing this thing? Right? Like, I go into a store, I have my mask on. I leave out of the store, I take my mask off. It's not that bad. It's not that bad. So, like, that is not the same as saying you need to carry this child for 9 months. That's not the same. It's not even remotely the same. It's not even in the same fucking ballpark, let alone the same sport. So, like, please stop equating those things. It's fucking stupid.
Yeah.
All right. So, let's pivot from there and let's talk about where do we go? Where does this, let's say this goes into effect, which it will. Mm-hmm. What comes next? Because they're basing Alito is talking about this is basically, look, they're throwing away unenumerated privacy laws or right to privacy, saying basically there's nothing in the Constitution that says right to privacy. So henceforth we can just toss all of this shit. So for people who don't care, like, do you care about our entire generation fighting for Obergefell? Because that's toast. It's done. And for folks who don't know, that's same-sex marriage. They will go after it. and they will probably succeed. I saw a really sad, but I thought poignant tweet today that said basically, if you are in a same-sex marriage, you need to get contracts written for power of attorney and all of that shit done right now, so that if your marriage gets nullified, those things still exist, and that you don't end up losing power of attorney over your spouse if something happens to them tragically, and their family, who may not like you, like swoops in and just like pushes you out.
Yep.
You got to get those things done. You have to get those things done. And look, it feels ridiculous. It feels ridiculous to say that. It does, and it fucking saddens me, and it makes me so angry. But they will not stop at this.
Well,
they will not.
And not to like, we should get to the point of what happens next. But I think one of the reasons that like we knew this was coming, and yet everyone was still shocked by it, because I was, but here's why I was shocked. I can't think of another point in American history where there's one exception. Reconstruction is and Jim Crow is the exception to this. But other than that, I can't think of a point in American history where we got to a certain like progressive milestone and then later regressed back behind that progressive milestone.
That's true.
And I think that was the shock factor is, oh shit, like this is the first time that this has really happened in modern times.
Yeah.
And it feels weird to say that because, like you said, you mentioned Obergefell. You meant like Loving v. Virginia is another one that, you know, people like to throw around interracial marriage and stuff like that. If there's certain states that just don't want to fucking deal with that shit anymore, then this could potentially open the door for that as well. But you asked what comes next. And the truth is we don't know what comes next because the future is not cemented in stone. Because if we can fucking turn out in the midterms, and if we can turn out strong in 2024 and ensure that Democrats maintain control of the powers of the legislature, not only can we prevent a lot of bullshit happening on the federal level, which Republicans would try, but we might actually be able to get some of this stuff codified in the law. And I know what you said about, you know, hey, you know, no one would go to court and strike it down, but at least you'd make them do it. Because one of the big things about Alito's draft that he says, hey, this is up for legislatures to fucking figure out now. Like if they want abortion, they need to put it in the law. All right, well, we'll put it in the law then. If we can get the seats and if we can get the votes to make that happen. Because the problem is right now, everyone out there banging, why don't they just put it up for a vote? Why don't they put it up for a vote? You have Joe Manchin, who is to the right of some Republicans on this issue of abortion specifically.
Yep.
Like he is not, he like Murkowski and Collins are to Joe Manchin's left on the issue of abortion.
Yes, crazy, dude.
Which is insane.
Yeah.
You also have Sinema and Manchin who still won't do anything about the filibuster for this issue. Manchin said it today. So you can say, oh, put it to a vote all you want. It's not going anywhere in the Senate. You can wish and hope all you want to. It's not going to get passed unless we get 2 more seats in the Senate. It's not going to fucking go anywhere. So that's number 1. Joe Biden signed an executive order.
What will that do?
Nothing. It'll sign an executive order. He'll get sued immediately. It'll get kicked back up to the Supreme Court, who, guess what, will knock the fucking shit right back down again.
Again, today is a prime example of I don't know anything about government, and let me throw a hot take out. Like, that's all it was today, man. Like, you guys don't know how shit works. Not you listeners. You guys are cool. But the rest of those yahoos out there, like, or that way, like, they don't know. And they're just throwing wild rando shit out there. I'm like, yo, that doesn't even make sense. One person was like, well, why don't they just pass it in the House? I showed you this. It was like, why don't you just pass it in the House and then just keep voting for it every time? Every time they knock it down, you just keep voting for it. And I was like, what would that do? Slamming your head against a brick wall doesn't hurt the wall. Like, what are you doing? Hey, do you remember when the Republicans tried that with repealing Obamacare 53 times? Hey, so what happened? Nothing. They became laughing stocks. Like, what the fuck are you? Oh, we're going to do it this time. Oh, are you guys? Holy shit. Look out. No, it didn't do anything. Stop looking for symbolic bullshit and come up with real solutions.
Yeah.
Right? You need real solutions. There is one real solution out of this. Voting. You have to fucking come out and vote like your goddamn lives depended on it. And for some of us, it absolutely does. It absolutely does.
And here's the funny thing. Here's the funny thing. Me and Jay, if we could take the fucking white privilege view on this shit, we don't have to give a fuck about this.
No.
We live in fucking Maryland. We're fine. Like unless
fine.
they roll out a fucking federal ban on abortion, we're
I'm going
cool.
to Canada. I'm out. I hear Canada's lovely this time of year. That's probably not true. But like it's like this idea of like we would have to care. No, we don't have to care. And boy, does that bring me to a point that I've been dying to talk about. How did we get here? How did we get here?
Jesus Christ.
You ready? You ready, Brad?
There wasn't one decision that caused this. This did not hinge on one single election.
Nope.
No doubt about it. Like we're not going to go back that far. We had 50 years of kicking the can down the road. Like, I know the fucking leftists were quick to blame the Obama administration for not
right.
doing
I'm like, dude.
Yeah, we had plenty of time to do this. like we had 8 years of Clinton. We could have gotten some shit done.
Yeah.
We had the Jimmy Carter administration. We could have gotten some shit done. Like, we had plenty of time to be able to make this shit happen.
So, yeah, I think that, yeah, and again, we'll get to those things because that's where I'm going to really get pissed and be real mean. I've been waiting all day. Look, what comes next is they come after same-sex marriage. In my opinion, I think Brad is right. I think Brad, you're right. Right, but I do think you're right in how that happens and whether that happens, and at like what intensity those kind of things happen really matters if we come out in the midterms. Really matters if you come out in 2024. It really, really matters, right? But I think that they go after same-sex marriage first. I think in the way that they're going to rip same-sex marriage out of the definition of marriage, I think they're going to have to go after Loving versus Virginia. They have to.
Mm-hmm.
They have to. Whether they want to, and some of them definitely do, it will invalidate Loving versus Virginia because it is an unenumerated right. And it is a right to privacy. If you're telling me that privacy doesn't fucking matter anymore, then it doesn't matter anymore. And states like whichever backwoods fucking state you want to name, fill in. There's one with a lot of S's and P's in it, I'm sure. They will push to eliminate it. They will push to eliminate it. Whether they push to eliminate it as all marriages that fall under, the guise of interracial marriage are immediately eliminated in their state, or any no future ones. I don't know. Maybe they'll be nice about it and they'll do the bullshit of no future ones, which helps old people just not give a fuck, right? Like, which they tend to do. Oh, not you. We'll fuck over everyone else, but not you because we love you, old people. Like, they like to do shit like that. I can see that happening.
Well, and that's why the way, and again, this is a draft. It's not the final opinion. And a lot of people said like, hey, like Alito went fucking balls to the wall, knowing that the final opinion was probably going to have to be pared back a little bit. But that's why the way this was written is so dangerous, because even though he's going out of his way to be like, oh, just abortion, that's not how this works, because all some attorney general has to do is be like, yeah, I know he said just abortion, but he also said that, unenumerated rights, there is no right to privacy. So this we can easily, try to dismiss.
Yeah.
And it's by design. And it's by design. Like, it's absolutely.
Of course. Alito's not an idiot. He's not an idiot. He's just telling you, again, he's telling you what you want to hear. He's not telling you what you need to hear. So same-sex marriage, 100% on the chopping block.
Mm-hmm.
Contraception, Casey,
Mm-hmm.
on chopping block. That's a crazy one, dude. That's a crazy one. You might see that one before a Burgerfell, but maybe not, because they really, really hate gay folks. Like, they're really trying to get that one done before the midterms or before 2024.
Oh, well, and plus, don't forget another Obama achievement. Even though he didn't fucking do anything, it was a
right. He just happened to be the guy during the time.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, but still.
But yeah, I could see contraception being the third one. Right. You go Roe v. Wade, a Burgerfell, and then contraception. Then I think you go Loving versus Virginia. Right. Because then some assholes are gonna be like, well, hold on now. We can fucking kill this too. That's great. And then I don't know where you go. Brown versus Board of Education.
I mean, that would be like the nuclear one, right? Like, that would be the fucking.
That's the one you end with.
The extreme option. Yeah.
That's the one you end with.
And again,
look,
there are lots
think
of
about
people.
think about where things are right now, though. How nuclear is it? People are screaming at school boards about what can be taught to their kids, CRT. Like, this is where we are, right? Like, you can see the dominoes falling all in our lifetime, all in the next 5 to 10 years, right? And maybe not even 5 years, by the way. Maybe not even 5. If you're talking about all of these, oh, I'm offended white parents, oh, what they're teaching my child, blah, 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 I feel like my kid should be able to go to a school that doesn't have to be forced to teach these things. You can teach those things at a different school, not at the school my kid goes to. What is that argument? It's separate but equal.
Mm-hmm.
And you can knock it down in this court. If you are not fucking angry and you are not fearful of what's going on, you are not paying attention. You are not paying attention. These guys are, like you said, they are exactly who we thought they were. In some ways, they're worse. In some ways, they're worse. So, look, if you want to hate Republicans for this shit, you should. You should. And it's okay to hate them right now. You don't got to wait. You don't have to wait, because you already know what's coming, right? Like, we know what's coming. The only thing that's the difference between it happening and not happening is us, not them, right? You can't sit back and wait to see if they're going to do something terrible. They're going to do something terrible. The difference is, do we work our asses off to stop them? Mm-hmm. That is what matters. So at this point, I want to shift the conversation to, what do we do and what did we not do that got us here? Spoiler alert. Not enough of us fucking voted in 2016 for the lady with the suit. It's a fact. It's a fact. Codifying the law.
We did not in fact Pokemon go to the polls in enough.
No, we did not. And that's a solid slogan. We fucked that up. That's a once in a generation one. Man, come on. But we didn't. We didn't go to the polls. And, people are, oh, well, I didn't feel fucking excited, or I didn't like her as a candidate or whatever. Yeah, that's cool. You mad today? Good. You should be mad. And you should be mad at yourself a little bit. You should be disappointed in yourself. Like, we had an opportunity to stop it and we didn't. Some of us tried. We did. We went to the polls.
That's the part that
a lot of you didn't.
So, like,
a lot of you didn't.
Like,
not you guys listening. You guys are cool.
Yeah, you were debating with one of our friends on Twitter, Chris, who I think is one of the smartest fucking people on that app. But his whole stance was like,
disagree. Just out of spite, disagree. No, I like Chris.
His stance was like, leftists and liberals should, are spending all this time fighting each other and not being mad at, and it's not productive. And I understand where he's coming from with that, but here's the thing.
Sure.
I would be a lot less upset at the fucking Jill Stein crowd if there was even a modicum, a smidgen of introspection going on from them today, or when Ruth Bader Ginsburg died and they appointed Amy Coney Barrett to the court, or when Gorsuch got appointed, or whatever. A modicum of introspection. You know what? Maybe we fucked up. Maybe, our inability to get excited and go, get behind Hillary Clinton was in part due to causes. But instead, those folks immediately pivoted to, well, the Democrats control the presidency and both houses of Congress. How could they not do anything about this? How could they allow this to happen? Those fucking Democrats, Joe Biden, we went out there and voted for Joe Biden, and he's failing us. And we went out and got on the Senate, and it's failing us. And the House is failing us. And how could they fucking fail us? Like, I can't believe they allowed this to happen.
Yeah.
And I'm just, and it makes me sit there, and I'm just like, this happened because the Supreme Court currently has a 6-3 Republican majority on it. And I'm not going to say conservative majority. It's a Republican majority.
Right. They're not conservative.
Yeah. They're Republicans. And it has a 6-3 Republican majority because the president from 2017 through 2020 was Donald Trump. And Donald Trump got to take 3 of those justices and place them on the court. Because otherwise, it might have been a 6-3 liberal majority on the Supreme Court, or at least moderate majority on the Supreme Court. And we wouldn't have to fucking worry about any of this shit.
For a generation, we would have been good.
But she wasn't Bernie Sanders, Jay. So what are you going to do?
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have entered into the part. I don't even know where we are in the time. Oh, we're at 57 minutes, Brad.
Fantastic.
You know what? I'm gonna give people a little bit of juice before we hit the hour mark.
As a treat.
As a treat. Look, man, 2016. All this all this hand wringing, codify the law, yada yada yada. Here's how we win. All this shit. The time to fight was in 2016. That was the time to fight. I was driving home today and I was thinking, listen, what is the difference between how I see the world and how perhaps other people see the world, right? And I tend to see the world. I try not to see the world too black and white, which is part of the reason I get myself in trouble a lot. I'm like, well, maybe is that think about this, I try to be pretty nuanced about it. But I also like to think of myself. I also think of I think of almost in, I don't want to say gamemanship because that cheapens what reality is. But there are certain times where you have to play the game as far as how the rules are set up, right? Mm. And in this case of what it means to protect women's right to vote and what it means in politics, politics is gamemanship a lot, but it's gamemanship that actually matters. And it's like football, but it's for real, people's lives.
It's a construct,
right? So
it has to have rules because it's a construct. We made it, and there's rules, and this is how these things operate, and you have to operate within the bounds that the rules exist. That's
right, exactly. So that being said, I tend to see it from a perspective of if you're like chess, right? Okay, we move these pieces here, we do this thing, try to get to our goal, right? And the other team is trying to do the same thing, right? In the middle of this board, when you're battling for possession here, is these unenumerated rights. Not just abortion, but also, marriage equality and those sort of things. They all exist in the middle. Everyone is vying for those positions, and to control them. I am a black man in America. That's the only perspective I know 100%. I can only guess what it's like being white, a woman, a white woman, a black woman, whatever. I can only guess. And I am a straight black man, so I also don't have the perspective of somebody who is trans or gay or any part of that community. But I can tell you what it's like to be a black man in this country, and I think we have a very unique perspective. And that perspective is I don't get to fight alone. And I don't get to fight just for myself. I can't. Because that is not how our system, that is not how the construct has been designed for me. It has never been designed for me to stand alone and say, I want these rights, I want these things, and damn everybody else. That is the construct that has existed for white men. It has not existed for black men, and black people in general. And so I fight from that position. So I don't, when it's time to vote, and I've talked about this before, when it's time to vote, I don't vote in a vacuum. I don't just vote on what helps me specifically. I don't vote, and I know a lot of people go, well, like white people would say, well, I don't either. Yes, but a lot of white people do. Like a lot of white people do, right?
I'd argue most white people probably do.
Right. But there's going to be white liberals who say they don't, they vote for the greater good and everything else, and that's fine. I'm not going to say that they don't, but I would say the vast majority of white people do not behave that way. I can tell by their voting. 53% of white women voted for Donald Trump in 2016. 53%. Like, what are you doing, right? So I don't vote in a vacuum. I vote very much under the understanding that my vote is one of many that can be weaponized for or against a certain group very easily. When I look at what was at stake in 2016, I refuse to sacrifice women's rights on the altar of my ego to see like, oh, well, do I get, let me see like if I can make more money in my business if Trump is president, or if it'd be more interesting like for us politically on this show, like we get more listeners if I push people to vote for him, or say there's no difference between him and Hillary and shit like that. That shit I saw. Right? I don't get to vote like that. I guess I could, but I have a moral center. I wouldn't do that. Because at the end of the day, what was valuable to me is protecting women's right to body sovereignty. That's important to me. It's incredibly important to me. Not just because I have a wife, but because because I have a wife, because I have a mother, because I have friends, and because I respect women in general. Mm-hmm. Right? I don't have to know a person to think that they deserve to be protected for those particular rights. There were people on the left who were not operating under that guise. They were operating in a very selfish perspective. And look, I've said this before and I'll say it again, and I truly believe this. The people who voted like that, who voted for Stein and voted for, wrote in Bernie or didn't vote and everything else, you behaved like them. You behave like them. That's what they do. Oh, is everybody want a thing that would be helpful? Fuck it. Don't care. That's how they operate. And I know what you're saying. I know what people were thinking. Well, Republicans all vote together. I'm talking about as a bloc, Republicans will purposely do things. They will vote for things that are not helpful to them, that will hurt them, just so it can hurt other people, or just so that they get more of something and you don't. So when you voted for Stein and you voted for, basically anyone but Hillary Clinton in 2016, you voted like they vote.
Yeah, there's an idiom from like a British idiom that says a British man will, always vote for, like when given a choice between his success or somebody else's misery, they'll pick somebody else's misery every single time.
Yeah,
because it's kind of like oh, we are all this bleak existence, so we must all suffer together.
Yeah,
and like you said, that's the Republican Party.
Yeah, it is
in a nutshell.
And so like when you signed up with the ideology of being liberal, it was because that's not what you wanted to be. Like you didn't want to vote like them. You wanted there's a reason they call us bleeding hearts. It's because you give a fuck about others. For real you care. That's what you're supposed to do, right? Not like Bree Greyjoy or Joy Gray, whatever her fucking name is, or Nina Turner. These people aren't liberal. They're not bleeding heart liberals. What they are is they're grifters. And I don't understand why people do not get that. These people grift for power, for money, $30,000 a month they make in fucking podcasting. Like, they're grifters. That is what they do. That is what their job is. They move goalposts constantly. They're never satisfied. Everything sucks. It's always the worst, so that you will buy into whatever the fuck bullshit they're selling.
Sounds like another contingent that I know, that I'm aware of.
Right.
Seems like there's a whole fucking cable news network dedicated to selling that same fucking grift on a larger scale.
Multiple networks.
Yeah.
Multiple networks. They've spawned baby shitty networks. So my point is, they call us bleeding hearts for a reason. Don't take it as a point of derision. That's how they use it. Take it as a badge of honor that you give a fuck about your fellow citizens. They call, oh, you guys you guys care about all this, you're not fucking strong or whatever. Stop buying into that shit. It takes strength to care about other people.
Yeah.
It takes strength to hold people on your back who can't fight for themselves. That takes strength. Use it. You're mad? Good. Be mad. Put on a cape and get super fucking mad. Use this. You should be pissed. Now take your ass and show up at the fucking elections in the midterms. That's what you're supposed to do. Don't sit by and go, oh, well, they called us that, and, is Joe Biden perfect? I don't know. Maybe I just won't vote. The point is, you fucking try. You put your goddamn heart at this shit. You protect the people that you can. You do the best you can. You're not always going to win. We almost lost. We could have lost in 2020. We absolutely could have lost. We could have. We could have gotten so discouraged, and we could have lost. They're the same people were telling you, what's the difference between Joe Biden and Donald Trump? These are the same people who told you what's the difference between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. After you lived through 4 years of that shit. After you lost 3 Supreme Court justices. They still told you. They told you.
They told you in 2020 there would have been no difference between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump.
Right? They still told you that. And people go, oh, well, maybe they're right. They're not right. Is Joe Biden perfect? Fuck no. Fuck no, he's not. Who was that? Was that my choice? You could go back and listen. Absolutely not. My choice was out there as a goddamn firebrand today because of this shit. She was out there fighting just as I knew she always would be. But it doesn't fucking matter now. Joe Biden's the guy. So we get behind Joe Biden and you get that guy into the fucking end zone. Because that is what, this is a team. It has to be a team. And guess what? I know, we shouldn't fight with other liberals, blah, blah. I get Chris's point. I 100% get it. But you got to deal with the root cause issue. And the root cause issue is you motherfuckers need to grow up. You need to grow up. Being liberal, we get it. Being super, super liberal, you care about everything, good, we get it. Again, you should be a bleeding heart. No problem. But when it comes time for the election, fucking buckle up, sweetheart. We got to go. We're working together. Bernie didn't get it? Fuck it. Is Joe Biden? Then we get him over the fucking end zone. Oh shit, is Bernie? That's crazy. Let's go. Who cares? If Bernie had won the nomination, I would be just as fucking hardcore pushing his ass in 2016 as Hillary Clinton or in 2020. Absolutely. Stop looking for fucking perfection. It doesn't exist. It is a surefire way for you to just quit and stop doing anything and stop caring.
And speaking of growing up, I really need everybody on the left to have a real baseline understanding of the realities that exist within our political system. It is very frustrating to see change happen incrementally. It is very frustrating to see small things happen instead of big things happen, or to see the big things that you want to have happen over the course of 30 years instead of 2. It's really frustrating to see plenty of Democrats that are there protecting special interests that appeal to their sides and stuff like that. Super frustrating.
Yep.
That's the game, though. These are the guardrails. This is the system. And it's fixable. Like, you can certainly fix it. There are ways to do it, but it takes time. It's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to happen in 1 cycle. It's not going to happen in 5. It's going to take a long time. It's going to take a long time of you coming out every single time and putting in the work.
Yeah.
Does that mean you have to get out there and door knock and this, that, or the other thing? No, not everyone's going to be able to do that. Not everyone has the time to do that. It's hard to do that. Not everyone's cut out for it. But you got to vote. You got to do the minimum. You got to do the bare minimum.
Bare minimum, dude. The bare
and
minimum.
You can vote, and you can tell your friends and your family to vote too, and tell them who you think they should vote for and why. That's all we're asking. It's not fucking hard.
Yep.
And again, stop this bullshit that we mentioned earlier in the show. I don't care how much you wish it were otherwise. The United States of America is a bipartisan political system. There are two parties, Democrat or Republican. That's it. And there are primary elections to get a Democrat and to get the Democrat that you want in the prime position. But if that person doesn't win, you still got to get behind the guy that does. You want to know why Republicans have wielded so much political power, despite the fact that their numbers are dwindling across the country? It's because they back the horse that's leading the race.
That's it.
And it's because they do that they have strangleholds in all of these states, that they're able to get the senators that they want to be in Congress. They're able to get the governors that they want to run their states. They're able to get the legislatures that they want. And then all Republicans do is gerrymander maps and make sure that they can stay in power, because they know they don't have the fucking numbers. If liberals came out and voted in every election with the same consistency that Republicans did, only the deepest of red areas would be reliably Republican. We would hold every blue and purple seat, and maybe even get some of the light red ones too.
Yep.
Because there are more of us than there are of them. But it takes going out there and doing the bare minimum to make that happen.
Yep.
And then you have to understand that even when you get your way, even when you get the president is a Democrat, the Senate is Democratic, and the House is Democratic, you're not going to get pie in the sky bullshit. You're not going to get every single thing that was promised to you. And you can get mad about it, and you can fight for it, and you should. Like, we don't have to let Build Back Better alone just because it's having some trouble getting through the Senate. Like, we're still going to fucking scream about it. Hopefully get a couple more, Senate Democrats in there and get it over the finish line, get it over the goal line, to use Jay's analogy. But the shit takes time. There is no such thing as a quick fix in politics. The system was designed.
I don't know why that's this new age bullshit perspective of like no incremental change. That's nonsense. It's nonsense.
It's literally what the system was designed to do. That's why there's so many checks and balances across the board, because the people that designed the government of the country didn't want some fucking crazy asshole to come in and make wide swath sweeping changes overnight.
Yeah, that's a king.
Yeah. And that's what you're not supposed to want if you live in this country. And
a lot of folks do.
Like
a lot of folks do.
And the widest swath sweeping change that has happened in American democracy, the biggest overnight change that happened, the biggest snap of the fingers and things were different the next day, was the ending of slavery. And all it took to get there was a fucking war.
Yep.
To make that happen. Hundreds of thousands of people dead to make that happen. That's all it took. No big deal. Not a problem. Just good old fashioned human sacrifice.
Yeah.
So unless you want to have a physical fucking land war in the country, and they're better armed than we are, so I don't know that you necessarily really want that. Maybe
don't come to the cities, dog.
Yeah. So unless that's what you want to do to get Medicare for all, then you have to play within the fucking system as it's designed, and then try to fix it from the inside. You can't fix it from the outside. You can only fix it from the inside. Right. There's a lot of progressives that get that. AOC gets that. Ayanna Pressley gets that. That's the only way you can do it. Yeah. You got to get enough of your people that row your way to get it in the office, and then change can happen, but it's slow. It's slow. And I know we love that fucking instant gratification, baby. I know that we fucking love to get things immediately. It's not how politics works. It's not how it works here. It's not how it works anywhere, to be quite honest. Unless there's a dictatorship, or unless there's a king. That's it. It's the only way you get it. When one guy runs the show, things can happen real fast. But when progress is based on building coalitions, it happens slow. Not everyone's on the same page. Not everyone that's in your coalition is going to be as liberal as you, or want the same things that you want, or want them to the degree that you want them. And you can only go as far, you can only progress as far as your least progressive person. Like I said, the weakest chain in the link is how strong the chain is. Like that's the old analogy as it were. We can go as far as Joe Manchin can take us right now. That's the reality of the situation. Sucks, but it's what it is. If you don't want Joe Manchin to be the decider of all things progressive, then vote more progressives in. And then you don't have to worry about Joe Manchin anymore.
Yep.
But that's it. Stop like dragging your feet to the polls and be like, all right, I did it. Now where's my Medicare for all? And then getting pissed off when it's not there and then not showing up the next time.
Yep.
Learn how the country fucking works.
We need civics.
I know it's boring. But if you've learned nothing from listening to this show for the last 7 years, or however long we've been doing this, sometimes, most of the time, politics is eating your fucking vegetables. And then sometimes you get dessert.
Yeah. And it's awesome. It is. It's awesome. Okay, that's the end of the free portion for this week's episode of Look Forward. Make sure you go to lookforwardshow.com/premium. Sign up for premium content. It's only $5 a month or $50 for the full year.